Hey guys, in this video we are looking at Meshcast. This is a sister service of sorts for VDO.Ninja. You can kind of think of it as an auxiliary tool to help alleviate network and CPU bottlenecks that you might encounter when doing larger group rooms with VDO.Ninja. So in this video I'll talk a little bit about what Meshcast is technically, how you can use it, and give you some examples. So Meshcast is a service I'm hosting in the cloud for VDO.Ninja users for free. The idea is you can send a video stream to the service and it will then restream that single video stream to multiple viewers. The focus of the service is to be ultra low latency and very much dedicated to the production sort of community. So it has some uses both within VDONinja and outside VDONinja. Now, let's look at how VDONinja kind of works currently. By default, when you create a group room, you create something like something that we might call a peer-to-peer mesh. So everyone in the group room, all the guests, see each other and they can talk to each other. And the way they connect is direct peer-to-peer. So everyone is sharing video with everyone else directly. And this is great because you get low latency and you get to have potentially very high quality video sent to everyone. But it means each individual guest in that room is responsible for ensuring everyone else gets their video stream. So if you have a slower phone or poor internet, you're not going to be able to reliably share video with everyone in the room. So peer-to-peer mesh works well with VDONinja. Mobile devices tend to go between 7 to 12 people in a room before they start to hit a wall. A laptop can do a little bit more than that, and a desktop, can do like 20 people in a room. Perhaps more, depending on, whether it's a beefy machine or not. But it also means you have to have good internet to have those larger rooms. And, it only takes one person in a room to cause kind of problems for everyone else. If someone needs to be there and they can't join because they're on like a 2012 MacBook Air on Wi-Fi, they're not going to be able to join a mesh network of 20 people. It's just too much load, too many requirements, and it won't work. So in a previous video, I looked at how we can optimize VDONinja in a way that will let you do that. And I call that broadcasting mode, and we'll look at that here. So this is broadcasting mode where each of the guests in the room sends their video into the director control room. And the director can then produce a single video in OBS, mixing all the inputs from all the guests, and then share that output from OBS via the OBS virtual camera back to all the guests in the room. And the guests will have a flag set in their URL called broadcast. And what that does is it allows the guests to only see video coming from the director. So we can see in this diagram that all the guests only send video to the director, and the director sends video back to the guest. The guests don't have much load. They only have to send video to the director and audio to those in the group room. So that can work well even on a mobile phone up to a group size of 20 or more. Now, all the load, though, ends up being on the director. The director has to stream video to each of the guests in the room. If you have the video set to very low quality, that's not too hard for a director to handle a room size of 12 to 20 people, especially if they have a more beefy computer. But if you want to publish higher quality video, maybe 1080p or 720p to each guest in the room, and you have 12 guests, you'll need a top of the line system to make that kind of successful. And that's not something everyone has. Some people only have a laptop or an older computer, but they still want to make those shows. And this is where VDONinja starts to run up into some problems for those users. Those users don't have powerful computers, don't have necessarily capable connections to the internet. So it's hard for them to create larger group rooms. VDONinja is a free service, though, right? And it's free because of the way it's architected. Bandwidth and servers are very expensive. And so the way it's architected is that all the kind of costs end up being hosted on the guests and the director. And that way the service can be free. But there are some limits. So Meshcast kind of comes in here to help solve some of the problems we just mentioned. And it tries to do that efficiently. So one method that this can work to help solve a problem is with this approach that I like to describe as an MCU. It may not be exactly an MCU, but it's a term that nerds like me use for this type of layout. Same concept as before, where the guests all send video to the directors, and the guests can still talk to each other directly with audio because audio doesn't take much CPU or network. But all the video goes to the director. The director uses OBS or whatever studio software they're using to mix everything together. And then they share that output to Meshcast. Now the director only has to send one high quality encoded video stream to Meshcast, and Meshcast does all the work of restreaming to the guests in the room. So now the director can have 20 people in the room all watching 1080p video, and they can do this on a older computer, maybe a 4 or 6, 8 core computer, and they don't need something like a 16 or 32 core to have a room size of 20 people with 1080p. They can do this all on a much slower computer without needing 50 or 100 megabit upload connection. You can do this with maybe a 10 megabit upload connection. So yeah, this is kind of the MCU approach, and I'll describe how to do this in a moment. Let me show you now. There's two ways of doing this. Let me show you the classic way. So I'll introduce you to Meshcast.io. So this is the standalone version of Meshcast that is kind of its own thing. Meshcast.io. We can come here. We can enter a stream ID. We can say how many viewers we intend to have join our broadcast. So we enter the max number of viewers we expect, and the system then optimizes for that. Reserves space for that. We can select which service we want to publish to, east, west, whatever. It automatically selects the best, closest server to you. You can choose things like video codecs. Again, the default is fine. And then you can select things like which camera to select. And if we're using OBS, we can say turn on a virtual camera. And once we have a virtual camera selected, we can here we go. So you can see I'm screen sharing my OBS output into Meshcast via the OBS virtual camera. Just for less odd effects, I'm just going to select my camera here though. And then I just hit start. So the video is now publishing to the server. And although there's no viewers, we're now uploading to the server at a megabit or 2 per second. We get details about the connection, and we get this link. And if we open this link in the browser, we can see myself, and the latency, it is sub 1 second, maybe even less than half a second. Right? So that's kind of cool. Now this is going to a server and being broadcasted out to anyone who wants to watch it. Now this link we can take and we can go to VDO.Ninja. We can have a test room here. And we'll click on guests will only see the director, so it'll be in broadcast mode. In the bottom here, we have a little button. You can say enter a website to share. So this is the classic way of sharing video from Meshcast. And now anyone who joins the room, so I'm going to join the room, disable my camera. So I'll join the room without a camera and I see the video. So the director is publishing Meshcast as an embedded iframe into the room. And now as a participant, I can see them. And you can have 20 people join this room, all seeing this level of quality without any additional load on the director. Because the guests are not sharing videos with themselves, they're only watching what the director does. The director, if we go to Meshcast, if the director is using the virtual output, right, all the guests will see the mixed shot, including themselves and anyone else who's in the room. And this is an interesting way of providing this. It's going to take a moment to catch back up. Changing camera sometimes causes it to glitch out for a second. Yeah, that was my camera freezing. Anyways, there we go. Yeah. Anyways, that's the classic way of sharing into VDONinja. Now, why this is important is you can actually, let me close that. You can share really anything into this website share. It doesn't have to be Meshcast. You could publish video to YouTube, Twitch, or a third-party broadcasting service. There's quite a few low latency services out there. And so if you don't want to use Meshcast as a service, you can publish in your own embedded viewer link here, and it will then populate, and guests will see that instead. So VDONinja is agnostic. If you want to use your own cloud hosting service to do broadcasting into the room, you can do that. That's up to you. I have specific support for Vimeo, YouTube, Twitch. If there's other parties you want me to add in, I can do that. But Meshcast is something I'm offering for free for VDONinja users who are using it in the way it's intended to be used. Okay, so that's the legacy way. The downside of doing it that way is you can potentially get feedback issues where the iframe may not cancel out the audio. So in that case, you can't really share. You shouldn't be sharing audio through the iframe. You should be still using the peer-to-peer for audio. When you share Meshcast in here, if you want to make sure that there's no audio being shared to the guests, you could add mute to the end, for example, and that will make sure the Meshcast video doesn't have audio being played back for any of the viewers, and that way you can avoid any sort of echo cancellation, like feedback prompts. Okay. If you can just be aware of that, you're set. That's a great way of using the service, and you have flexibility to use others. But to make the life easier for VDONinja users, there's another way of doing it. Now, and that is it's a more embedded way. We just add Meshcast to the URL. We refresh, and now this user, the director, will publish to Meshcast. So I'm going to turn my camera on. Let's actually share the virtual cam. Little virtual cam. I'm now going to invite a guest in. The guest is going to join with no camera. And what they see is the screen share, right? Maybe that was a bad choice. Snap camera. So the guests now see me. And to be sure that we're broadcasting through Meshcast and not peer-to-peer, we can hold Control or Command on Mac and click on the video. And we'll see that the stats say we are on a Meshcast connection. We're getting 2.5 megabits per second. So this is enough for even 1080p video. My camera is 720 right now, so just 720. And the latency is, 300 milliseconds or so. And yeah, in the top corner here is this, as a director, we see what we're publishing at 2500. We're in broadcast mode. Okay, so that's kind of neat. We have one connection, one peer connection, but we're not publishing audio or video over peer-to-peer. We're only publishing audio and video over the Meshcast connection. And the audio, in this case, does travel over Meshcast, and there is no echo cancellation problems, no feedback problems, because it's not an iframe. It's actually embedded directly into VDO.Ninja. So there's an advantage to this method. The audio and video stay in sync, and you also maintain everything's pretty much the same. The audio and video is in sync, and you don't get the echo cancellation problem. If you needed to delay audio in the previous mode, you could. There's a mic delay function where you can actually delay your audio 200 milliseconds or so, and it will be in sync with the video then, even though it's peer-to-peer. But if you have the benefit of, well, you have the benefit of choice there. Anyways, in this mode, everything gets published over Meshcast, including audio and video. There will be some options in the future that will let you choose whether audio is over Meshcast or peer-to-peer. But in the basic mode right now, it's both audio and video. There's other parameters kind of like that. There's Meshcast codec, Meshcast bitrate, Meshcast AB, and you can say like audio bitrate 64, video bitrate 400, codec BP8, and so you can customize the publishing bit rates for Meshcast. This is a little bit of a different pattern compared to the rest of VDONinja. When you do peer-to-peer with VDONinja, it's the viewer that defines what the codec and bitrate parameters are, because each viewer gets their own custom stream. But with Meshcast, there's only one stream for multiple viewers, so the viewer cannot really define what settings are what. And in that case, it's up to the publisher to set those settings, hence the custom parameters. So most of the same ones you use for a viewer, except you just add MC in front. So MC codec, MC bitrate, MC AB, and you can specify the publishing bit rates. There are limits on what you can publish in terms of quality and bandwidth. Meshcast is a cloud service. It doesn't have infinite resources. So there are limits at the time being on what you can publish, but they're pretty generous. So you could easily publish 1080p at pretty good quality currently. Yeah, okay. So that is how we can do this MCU style. We have two different approaches, as we mentioned, where we can have the director use Meshcast.io or some other service. It could be, Twitch here, right? And you could then embed Twitch into VDONinja and then share. But you can put anything you want in there with the first mode, or you can do the next mode, and that is where you use the Meshcast parameter as a director, and it handles everything without needing to open up another tab or anything like that. It's all built in. and that's the new mode. So that's the main primary purpose of Meshcast with respect to VDO.Ninja, although you can use it some additional ways. So let's look at some additional ways we can use it. Another way that we can use it is something that I would call a peer-to-peer mesh. We looked previously at how VDONinja was a peer-to-peer mesh, and if you get to like a size of 20 people, you might have people in the room who don't have a fast enough computer or connection to keep up. Instead of giving up on the mesh network altogether, what you can do is you can just say to people who are struggling in the mesh network, add Meshcast, as a parameter, right, to the URL, and now that guest will publish to Meshcast, and Meshcast will publish to everyone in the room. So those who in the room who have a fast enough computer can still just publish peer-to-peer, but maybe you have someone on like an old iPhone who can't keep up. You can have them publish to Meshcast and still participate. Higher latency, limited quality, potentially, but it unlocks the potential to do these large rooms even on slower computers. Now, this is another way that you can use Meshcast that I approve of. It solves a problem. It facilitates a need, and it doesn't abuse the service, right? Meshcast is publishing to a subset of viewers, and it's not taxing the servers too much. Now, this is an SFU approach. This is just another term, single forwarding unit, selective forwarding unit, whatever. This is kind of how like a lot of conferencing software works. So like Meet or Zoom, where multiple people publish video into a server, and then the server shares that video with everyone in the room. What we can see here, though, is the server is very central to everything. And not only does the server need to send the same video feed of everyone in the room to everyone in the room, it's under a lot of stress. So if you had 20 people, 30 people in a room, each person is viewing 30 streams roughly. And each person in the room is publishing a stream in. And so you have a lot of video streams going back and forth, and Meshcast servers are having to carry that load. And they have limits, right? So this conferencing style approach that we traditionally see is very expensive to operate. And it's kind of the anti-pattern of what I want VDONinja to be. Like VDONinja, it's hard for VDONinja to operate in this way and be what makes it so great. To make an SFU work, you start needing to lower the quality of each participant, which is why you see in these conferencing software the video not being super high quality, guests coming at 360p, low bitrate. People like VDONinja because you get high quality streams, low latency. When you go with this approach, you have high latency, high cost, and lower quality. It also means that the Meshcast server, or whatever server is in the center here, is accessing all the video streams. And when you're using a service like Meshcast or any server-based conferencing app, you have to have some level of trust in that provider that they're not watching or recording or spying on your video stream. Companies will often claim they have end-to-end encryption, but we've often seen in the past that that is not true. It's or more commonly, it might have end-to-end encryption, but it can be turned off at any time. So what's the point of having it if the person in the middle can flick a switch and still spy on your stream at any point? When you have peer-to-peer with VDONinja, basic, the regular version, you're having a peer connection. There's really no way for the person in the middle to just turn a switch on and start recording you without you having verifiable way of validating your privacy. Anyways, this approach is not how Meshcast is really intended. You can use it this way, although if it's used this way by everyone, I simply can't offer it. So this pattern where everyone in the room, including the director, all has Meshcast added, and using it in a peer-to-peer mode where it's kind of everyone's getting everyone's individual stream, this is not the way it's intended. You can use it this way for smaller rooms, but for larger rooms, if you have 20 people in a room kind of running this configuration, that's more of an abuse. Anyways, just pointing that out. This style is not really the intended application of Meshcast. Meshcast is really about unlocking problems, where some guest is a problem, or if you're a director, you want to do a show with higher quality and your computer can't keep up. Meshcast is great. Just throwing that out there, guys. It's not designed for abuse. Now, as a guest, if you have a problematic guest, you can just say Meshcast on the guest invite link. They'll join. Everything will be just like normal. They can join the call, and the director gets the video, and it will be a Meshcast connection from that guest. High quality. Normally when a video comes into the director's room, it's low quality, but because this is one stream going to everyone, there's no way for me to really vary the quality. It's whether you're the director or a scene or another guest, it's the same high quality video that everyone gets. Okay. I hope that makes sense on what Meshcast is. So just to paraphrase a few things, the recommended way of using Meshcast is having the director publish to Meshcast either through Meshcast.io or the director adding Meshcast onto their page, and then having the guests enter the room with broadcast mode enabled. This way, the guests only see video from the director. They only see video from the director. The other little picture-in-picture up here in the corner. And this way, the guests in the room don't have much load. They only publish video peer-to-peer to the director. And the director doesn't have to do much load. They just have to publish to Meshcast. Use it if you're having problems with the regular VDONinja service, peer-to-peer. And it's available as a solution for free. Now, if you have a guest that's problematic, again, same idea. Take the invite link for that guest, add Meshcast onto the invite link, and that particular guest can now join via Meshcast, and their device will not be stressed as much. There's Meshcast servers both in Europe and North America, and I'll continue to expand them. These are premium servers, so the quality is pretty good, and I'll just keep expanding it. In terms of long-term viability of this service, it's not cheap. My hope is to always offer a tier for VDONinja users for free. So kind of what we're seeing here, 20, 30 viewers in a room with a certain level of quality. But if you intend to broadcast to hundreds of users or 4K video, that's going to be into another tier. And you'll in that case, we'll probably need to get some sort of account with Meshcast.io in the future. that unlocks that higher premium tier with unrestricted viewers, unrestricted bandwidth. Just putting that out there. But for now, that's probably months away, if not longer. And as long as it's not being abused, I can push off that premium offering for much longer. That premium offering will help subsidize the free offering, though. So it's kind of a necessity to be able to offer this as a free service. And lastly, if you are wanting to do your own third-party sort of broadcasting service and use that with VDO.Ninja, you can. Just, again, refreshing you, just put the embedded link in here, and you can share that as a director to the room. A guest can do the same thing. You can share a website link as a guest in the same way. So if a guest comes in, they can click this little link, they can share a website, and then they can publish into the group room as a participant with that embedded link. So VDONinja is agnostic to third parties on that front. If you do want to use your own offering. Okay, so I hope that was helpful, guys. That is an overview of Meshcast, what it does, how to use it. It's still early days. Much more is coming on that front. But anyways, rambled it off. Bye, guys. Good night.